This is Front Up. I'm your host, Jason Bridges. I am not Dan Drake, but I'm sitting in for him. We have today TomRafter from the airport. Airport Director, Manager. I always get the titles messed up. So what's going on at the airport?
Lots of things going on. I think the topic, though, of discussion most recently is the restaurant issue. Mm-hmm. The restaurant lease expires December 31st, and we're in the process of developing a new request for proposals. We have to put that out publicly. You may recall in the past there were some challenges with procurement and how the lease was obtained, if you will. So we're making sure we're doing all the right things through procurement process.
So for people to understand, an RFP, request for proposal, we do that for jetties, any town-owned land, if you're going to
Right, we have to put it out publicly. And
right.
it sounds easy to write a request for proposal, mm-hmm. but there are many intricacies involved that you have to make sure, all the laws are covered, but also you have to disclose as much information as you can. And you want to make it as viable as possible, especially in this type of operation. We want to identify that it is a viable operation. So we're changing some things that will be in the lease, the new lease. We're giving up to about $100,000 in abatement credit for someone to come in and basically put in new equipment and things of that nature. We're going to be constructing a vestibule to enclose the front entrance off the street. Mm-hmm. We're replacing the floor, and we have some other things that we're adding to this that are a little different. We're going to allow them the option to utilize the old gift shop area on a seasonal basis if they wish. And we're looking at we're working with legal to come up with a language to allow whoever the selected vendor is to have an opportunity in the hold room, which is post-secured after the screening process.
Which is very common in every airport you go to.
It's actually the highest demand areas for concessionaires at airports. So we believe there's opportunity there, and we think with these extra add-ons, if you will, it'll allow the operator to be able to get through the slow season. We all know on Nantucket, there's about 4 or 5 strong months, and then you hold your money and try to get through the lean months. So we understand that, and that was part of the reason why we elected not to have an operator come in January or February or March. According to the information from the existing operator, there's significant costs associated with operating throughout the winter. So we thought it would be an opportune time to renovate the property and then bring in an operator, or we're hoping that the existing operator puts in. We think his product's very good. It's family oriented. It's priced right. Mm-hmm. We have that's what we're looking for, that type of operation.
So reading the article in the paper, it was kind of when I first heard about it. It was a week ago-ish. It was saying that the lease wasn't. It should have been sent out in September so they could stay open. So everybody who loves that restaurant doesn't have to miss it for 4 months.
It probably would have been opportune to do that. I'll admit up front, we had an issue in our lease management system where we initially thought it expired next year, and it's this year. We have over 120 leases that we manage, though. And so the system just had the wrong year in it. Even in fact, though, if it did, again, as I say, with the expiration being the end of this month, if we were all ready to go, and assuming it was a new operator, they'd be coming in at a disadvantage, I think, because you're coming in at January, February, and March. Starting a restaurant on Nantucket could be a challenge.
It's not fun to cash flow to start off that way.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody understands the cash flow issue. So we were hoping that we would give them the opportunity to start in the higher months and give them additional opportunities for additional income during the season to be able to make it through the winter. I'll say the current operator and restaurant, best of my knowledge, has been open 10 years straight, and they were required to be open 365 days a year, and they were. That's challenging on anybody. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while you need to take a break and refresh and things, and they were able to do it. So we just thought it was an opportune time to catch up, and we're looking at different things in this new agreement as well, such as being able to give the new, or whoever the operator is, up to 2 weeks in the off season to close, renovate, take vacation, whatever.
Right.
We're also looking at a reinvestment clause, which is typical in a lot of airports. So you'll put a small percentage of the gross receipts aside for rehabilitation, refurbishment on some type of a cycle, whether it's every other year, every third year, or something like that.
And the tenant has to do that, not the landlord.
Right. But the money gets set aside, and everybody knows up front that this is what it's for. It's a small percentage, but at least that way, it's you're continuing to keep the premises up and things like that.
So this process, RFP, is it already out? Is it going out soon?
No, we're hoping to have it out in January.
Okay.
It's currently in the draft phase. We're formatting that. It has to go to legal and procurement for their review.
And then once it goes out, how long is it? Is it
standard? I believe it has to be on the street for 30 days.
Okay.
That's my understanding. But again, it's a request for proposals, but in there you have to have the draft lease as well. So we have to have essentially all the elements of what we expect in the lease, and nothing significantly changes.
So if it's due February 15th by 2 p.m., all the proposals come in. If they come in at 2:02, you can't use them.
Correct.
Right? They're void, and then you have a team that looks at those?
Yes, we do. And what we're going to do a little bit differently in this selection process, we're looking for a subject matter expert. Because again, this is not part of our core business. We'd like to bring somebody who knows the restaurant business, and we have some leads on that. But we typically would have, representation from the airport, from town procurement, town finance, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, it's an open process. It's according to, I think it's Chapter 30B or whatever we have to follow.
So in April, we'll see a new vendor in there.
It's possible, and
New/old.
I don't want to speak for our commission either, but.
Right.
It may be that we select someone and have them come in to start in April, maybe forgo the rent for a month and, start collecting rent in May or something. We would like to have somebody in there by April.
Okay. So. How did the summer go compared to the last 2 or 3 summers?
The summer went well. We're seeing it's becoming stronger peaks, if you will, and especially on Saturdays. But we're also starting to see the shoulders are continuing to grow.
They are, okay.
We have word that JetBlue is starting earlier next year. They're going to be starting in early May. Last year they went through October 28th, I believe. So that's a good sign, but it's also very challenging. As you know, the steeper that peak gets in the summer, the harder it is to accommodate with the facilities and infrastructure that everybody has. And we're hearing some good news. I can't say anything just yet, but
no hints, no.
Well, we're hearing about some additional service that will be very beneficial, I think, to the community.
To the year-round community, or to everyone?
I would say both.
Okay.
The ones that we have firm knowledge of somewhat are currently seasonal, but we're also waiting. We keep hearing momentarily for the year-round community.
Okay.
So
that leads into my next question. If more airlines or more opportunities are coming in, what do you need facility-wise? I'm on the capital program committee, so I see your request coming in.
It's a very good question. We're working on an entire program that includes a number of capital items as well as operating items. So starting, if you will, from the airplane side, we need an additional place to park an airplane. We only have 4 positions. We need 5. We're looking at a 5th and possibly 6th alternative position because, as many folks know, JetBlue occasionally has several airplanes on the ground at the same time. That's a bit of a scheduling challenge that they're working on too. We've had days where there's 4 JetBlues on the ground at one time. They have 1 gate. So rather than strand people out on the taxiway or whatever, we're looking for additional parking for the airplane.
So even the airport has parking problems?
Yes.
For airplanes.
We have serious airplane parking problems in the summer. But in addition, as many folks know, what's called the hold room, where you wait to board the flight beyond screening, gets very crowded. So we have a capital project in for what we're calling a seasonal structure. We don't see a need to build something for the year-round full, air conditioning heat. So it's essentially a structured canopy, much like you would see at a lot of the facilities on the island that are seasonal. But ours is a little different, and the reason it's a little more costly, and this was just asked at the Capital Committee, One of the reasons ours costs a little more than any other seasonal type structure. We have to bring full functionality of the airline out to the boarding gate. So that means they need to have their computer so that they can take the boarding pass and read the boarding pass. They have to have the public address system. They've got to have what's called gate information display systems, those types of things.
So you have to infuse the technology, and it's not just a little shed with a little canopy.
Correct. Yeah. So we've got to bring all the wiring, all the electronics, all that out there, and that's where some of the cost ends up. So that's now the passenger thing, continuing on all the way back to the check-in. We're reshuffling the ticket counters. JetBlue needs additional positions. Cape Air accommodated them for the past year or so, but we're shuffling some counters around. And again, another thing that sounds very easy, but every airline has what's known as their own inserts. So we provide a shell of a counter. The airline has to provide the insert, and only the airline IT people can touch their things. So we're working with them to remove the inserts. We shuffle everybody around, put them back in, and get it ready for next season. There was some talk about additional kiosks, the self-serve kiosks, but I think that may be on hold at this point too.
Before, we've had conversations. I love asking this question of what's the misinformation out there? What do people not know about airports that you find over the years, year after year, they still think one way? And you had a really good answer that educated me.
I will tell you one second, if I can, before I forget this thought.
Sure. Oh, okay.
One other piece to that process that we're going to be adding next year, starting in April, is something called TSA PreCheck.
Ooh.
And that's very beneficial to the customer. You don't have to take off your shoes. You don't have to take your laptops out.
That's nice.
When TSA ran the numbers, they found that about 50% of our passengers are already enrolled in PreCheck. So they're going to launch that in April.
And where can we get that? Can we go into your admin office and
you
get checked?
You can go online. No, unfortunately, no. You have to
really
go online,
nice.
and then you have to go off island, I believe, to go through the process.
That's why I haven't done it yet. I just can't seem logistically to figure it out.
I'm the same way, but I'm forcing myself. I need to get it done because it is a big benefit. If you've ever used TSE PreCheck, it's tremendous. It's excellent. So back to your question. I apologize.
Oh no, that was a great little piece of information.
Some of the things that folks, I guess, not just on Nantucket but throughout the industry, don't quite understand the role of an airport versus an airline. Historically, airlines actually operated terminals, which led people to believe that they operated the airport. The truth is, really, the airport operator ourselves, we're simply the landlord, and we provide for the infrastructure. So although it's incumbent upon us to encourage airlines to provide service to our communities, we don't have any final say in that. We can't sway that in one way or the other. We have incentive programs. We provide them with information. We meet with them on a regular basis. But again, it's up to the actual airline, and it depends on the market. So our role is to provide infrastructure, the buildings, the runways, the taxiways, the crash fire rescue services, those types of things. And again, it's just one of those misnomers that folks don't quite get. And, I can understand that, but they lump it all together as though, it's the airport and airline, all one thing. And it's truly a different aspect or a different method of operation, mode of transportation, where we really are a public-private partnership. The airlines are private, we're public, and that's the way most airports operate in the country. So,
but you're also an enterprise fund, so you have a top-line revenue and your bottom line as well.
We have income and expense. Yes, we do, and I think that's it's very good because there are regulations that airport revenue cannot be spent off the airport. It has to stay on the airport. So the enterprise fund allows for segregation of those accounts and control of it and meeting all of our FAA requirements. So it's very beneficial that way.
What's some of the biggest challenges of running an airport in Nantucket versus pick somewhere else?
Everybody says...
Because we love saying, us Nantucketers, right? We love saying it's different here.
Oh, and it is. I've only been here 5.5 years, and I'm still learning. But I'll tell you, everybody says you've seen one airport, that's it. This is even much more unique than that. There are a lot of logistical challenges, as you know, just getting fuel to and from the island. But the peaking here is extreme compared to other even seasonal markets. I use the analogy, you can't build a church for Easter Sunday. Well, we have to, and we have to try to figure out how we do that. So that's one of the biggest challenges, is the peak seasonality. But being on an island, as we all know, there's a lot of logistical issues, and it is totally different from anything else in the mainland. We just had a piece of equipment delivered the other day, and we forewarned them as often as we can, as much as possible. We said, we're on an island. They said, yeah. They got to Hyannis the other day and said, what do you mean I need a boat reservation? So they were delayed there for a day or so.
No causeway, yeah.
Yeah, so people think there's a tunnel or a bridge, and it's not there.
Right.
It is different.
Well, that kind of goes across the board in all aspects of trying to keep this island operated. Is how do you build the infrastructure and services for peak and be able to afford it the other 6, 8, 9 months? Yep. It's a big challenge here.
It is. So
well, I think we got to wrap up, but I'd love to talk to you if we ever get a chance to do another interview more. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you,
Tom.